to join Don Neuen, co-host of Cowboy Logic Radio, and Denise Simon, host of the Denise Simon Experience, for a weekly situation report, or SITREP. 18 hours a day, Denise Simon lives her life as an Intel Analyst. 18 hours a day, Don Neuen lives his life in the world of rock and roll. 1 hour each day, Neuen receives a daily SITREP from Simon. Welcome to the Drive Time Situation Report. Fasten your seatbelt. You're now in Don Neuen's car, and he is calling in for his SITREP.
Smello.
What's up, Denise Simon?
Oh, just about everything. And guess who is with us? We've got California in here.
Who's in here with us? Wait a minute, let me guess. Is it one Tom Del Beccaro?
Yeah, he's like, Denise, write this article. I need it in an hour. I'm like, no.
Well, where is he? I thought he was on the air with us.
I don't see what the problem is.
Hey, what's happening, brother?
Is that Don Neuen?
It is Don Neuen. All right. Hey, this is awesome. Tom Del Beccaro, my brother from another mother. Denise Simon, my sister from another mister. This is not going to get any better than this. This is awesome. All right. Before we get started, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's Drive Time Sit Rep. On one end of this conversation, on one end of this conversation, you've got the stellar Denise Simon. On the other end of this conversation, you've got the stellar Tom Del Beccaro. And on the third end of this conversation is me, Don Neuen. Listen, this doesn't get any better for me, guys. I got to be honest with you about this. This is the first time we've had Del Beccaro on the Drive Time Sit Rep. Unlike any other radio show that he will be a guest on, and that you will listen to. Why is that, you ask? Because I'm in my car driving home after a grueling day in the world of rock and roll. Tom Del Beccaro's favorite band is, let me think here. Quiet Riot? No. What's the name of the band, Tom? What's your favorite band?
My favorite band of all time?
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin. That's right. I was just off by a little bit there. At any rate. Hey, Denise, before we get into this, two things. First of all, Merry Christmas to you, Denise.
And you too. Make sure that you say it to Tom.
Tom, Merry Christmas. After 8 years of having to live in the shadows as a Christian that likes celebrating Christmas, we now, for the past 2 years, have been able to come out of those shadows and wish everybody a Merry Christmas. So what Denise and I do is every week on the Drive
what
Time
Don
Sit Rep,
does.
yes, you do too. You do too. The only thing that you don't do that I do is eat at Culver's.
Oh,
and
I
would bet a sizable wager that you have not been to a Culver's yet.
I'm not taking that bet.
What a disappointment. Tom, I don't know about you, but it doesn't get any more disappointing than that. Denise, the other thing I wanted to bring up to you is a Atlanta water reclamation treatment plant update. It was ungodly as I drove past it just a moment ago. It was terrible. It is if somebody had just done a number 2 on my dashboard.
Well, they have that all over the sidewalks at L.A., San Francisco, Seattle. Tom's used to that.
Hey, listen, as I've said on Cowboy Logic, one of my drivers was in the lovely city of San Francisco there, not far from where Tom Del Beccaro lives, and somebody tried to throw him a feces bomb. Only in San Francisco, Tom. What is wrong with San Francisco?
I'm somewhat confused by the format of this radio show.
Isn't it crazy? Isn't it nuts?
Well, we're about to get real serious here. Denise, timestamp the show. and let's get after it.
It is 9:10 p.m. Eastern Time on the 26th of March in the year of our Lord 2019.
Beautiful. So eloquent. Just beautiful. Like listening to a hymn. All right, Denise, I see that Jesse Smollett has been acquitted of all charges. How in the hell did that ever happen?
Well, I'm not going to say acquitted. Not acquitted. Not acquitted.
They were dropped. They were
dropped.
All right. How did that happen, Del Vaccaro?
And magic. Well, it depends on who you listen to. If you listen to this conspiracy theory, Don Neuen.
What?
No. Look, he obviously knows somebody because it's absurd. He had the book thrown at him and then unthrown at him, and he's allowed to walk for $10,000 when he could have been doing 30 years in jail. So, how is it, Denise Simon, that he did this? Was it the fact that George Soros gave $402,000 to the person who made the deal with him, the district attorney? Was it the fact that he'd been in pictures with the Obamas?
Yes. You're doing good there. Aren't you happy I prepped you on that?
Why don't you answer?
That's cheating, Tom. We don't get any crap here.
No, seriously.
And I know even less about it once it started.
Hey, Denise, let me ask you this. Before you seriously me. Is there any truth to the fact that there is some relationship between Smollett and Kamala Harris?
I haven't. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that, but officially, as it relates to this case, I would say no.
What? Somebody said he was her nephew.
That's what I heard.
Oh well, that one I don't know. So I'm not going to go there on that one.
Denise doesn't know something. I think we need to reboot this whole show and start over.
I need to drive back to my office and restart.
Start all over again.
Because I'm in the hood right now, Denise. I'm about a half a mile away from some crack whores.
Oh.
I'll give you the update. The Fulton Industrial Boulevard crack whore update that we do every week on the Drive Time SITREP. Anyhow, Tom, I'm really glad you're here, man. You needed this.
I'm starting to question everything. You can be sure.
All right, Denise, for the listeners that for some oddball reason have never listened to a Cowboy Logic show or a Denise Simon experience, but only tune in every week for this show, can you give our beloved listeners a little bit about Tom Del Vaccaro so they know who he is and why he's so damn important?
Well, he's a famous author of the Divided Era. And if you haven't read it, you're cheating yourself. Go get it on Amazon.com, The Divided Era. He is a frequent contributor to Fox News and several other outlets, including his Forbes. You know, he's a money guy. He has his own website, otherwise known as Political Vanguard. And he is a master at sending group text messages on California time, which is not exactly Eastern time. Meaning in the middle.
Donna and I are always
most important. That's my most important qualification: ability to.
Well, true, but he's also the former head of the California GOP. He was a U.S. senatorial candidate, and he should have won. And if he would have won
against Kamala Harris,
that's right. We wouldn't be putting up with that crap right now. But
exactly.
California is so rigged and so twisted and so sick that we're trying to figure out a way to get Tom to move to Georgia.
No, keep him there. We absolutely need to have some kind of sane voice out there on that coast. But no, seriously, Tom is all over the place. I mean, I see him on all kinds of local TV stations. I see him all kinds of radio stations. So, I mean, he is doing yeoman's work out there. So, done.
He's omnipresent.
Yes.
Tom is omnipresent. And I'm going to tell you one other thing, ladies and gentlemen. This coming from a foundationally secure heterosexual male. Tom
stop right there, Denise. Do you have a sleeper button?
No. She can't. I produce the show. Tom is a damn good-looking guy. Wouldn't you agree, Denise?
Yes.
Can we have a serious subject here?
And I know. You and I can talk, Tom.
It was in 1968 on a Tuesday when I was good looking. I remember it. Okay, so look, the Smollett case looks really bad, and it's very clear that he put out tweets about his friendship with the Obamas, and suddenly he goes from facing a decade or so in jail, likely, to $10,000 and he walks. Now, his problem is that he violated federal law as well. So now the question becomes whether he'll be facing federal charges.
Because of the letter that he sent to himself.
So all of a sudden, what is that? Is that considered wire fraud? Mail fraud?
No, mail fraud.
What's it? Okay.
Mail tampering, I think it is. Which is, I think, maybe 12 years or something.
The interesting thing was Rahm Emanuel, first of all, the Chicago supervising police officer who gave that amazing talk when he was first charged, then today was livid. But I had to smile when Rahm Emanuel came on and said a couple of things of interest, one of which was that the grand jury indictment only presented a portion of the facts. I just wanted to do a full stop there, because that's what Robert Mueller's team does, is it presents a sliver of the facts and not the whole truth, not the information that could exonerate people like Stone and the others. So we'll have to see where that goes. And the other thing I loved by Rahm, he said, we all have to live by one set of rules, as if the rules that applied to Hillary were the same that applied to President Trump. So I thought that was amusing, but I don't think this is the end of the story for Mr. Smollett. And
I don't either.
I do think someone's going to lose their job in Chicago politics.
I would hope so.
From the fact checkers, Harris and Smollett are not related.
Okay, good.
And I'm getting a text message from my younger son that says, "Can't believe charges were dropped on that dude. # black privileged."
Yeah. Or at least some tone of mocha or coffee colored.
Well,
Rahm Emanuel consider him to really black.
Rahm Emanuel was implying that he did have privilege of some degree or another.
Yeah,
the problem
exactly.
for Rahm Emanuel, of course, is the privilege probably is based on his relationship with the Obamas, not his star
possibly.
status.
Any way you look at it, it really does reek, don't you think?
It absolutely reeks. And when you go do a deeper dive on this thing, it is the conversations and the text messages and the phone calls and the letters and the chatter were all going on before the list of charges actually came out. So they were adding them up based on the evidence the day that they were read for like an hour and a half on TV. And as a consequence, they were going through what the normal sentencing would be on each of those charges. And so they were already having a conversation about dropping them. So, I mean, and they got dropped today. Now, what happened today? Most of Chicago PD was at a celebration kind of event thing that was going on. So a lot of them were kind of like out of pocket. And this man, Magat, I guess is his name, who is the assistant DA or something or other. That's when they came out and said, we're dropping him.
So if we've got Rahm Emanuel that is speaking out against this, you've got the entire Chicago Police Department speaking out against this. Who is not, other than his defense lawyers and him?
The Obamas.
Yeah, the Obamas.
Good point, Tom. Yeah.
So there's also something interesting here. This is actually good news for President Trump, because what we saw is 2 years, and Mueller says there's no evidence. 2 years, though, it wasn't just Mueller. It was the media indicting Trump. It was the Democrats indicting Trump, saying he shouldn't get away with something. Mueller says not only did he not do it, but the offers were made to them that they ignored. And then on the heels of that, you have this Smollett case, which obviously a corrupt Democrat machine lets them out. So the Democrats have been on the wrong. This, in other words, what this does, and then you had Avenatti getting jailed.
How does he get out with a lifetime worth of sentencing? He gets out with a $300,000 bond and an ankle bracelet.
So what works with this, though, is all the legal shenanigans
are being exposed.
Broke towards Trump this week, including Avenatti, who was making claims at him before. And then it looks like the Democrats are corrupt in Chicago. Then the Democrats that voted on the Green Deal today, 43 of them voted present. The Democrats just are on a bad roll. And when their debates start in about 80 days, it's going to look worse.
It's going to be comical.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you both this, because Dan Bongino had a real good point, I felt. I believe it was in his show yesterday, which would have been Monday. And that was that Trump, by not getting rid of Rod Rosenstein, really played a major political strategy home run.
Whatever. I have something better than that.
Well, wait a minute. Let me get it out, Del Vaccaro. And that
I get it. By leaving Rod Rosenstein there, he signs off on the no collusion, and he gives cover to Barr. There you go.
No. He signed the fourth FISA warrant, and then he signed off on the no collusion.
All right, and he gives Barr coverage. That's good. All right. You know what's better?
Okay, one up me, Del Vaccaro.
No, I get to, because I'm the one that wanted both of them to keep going against everybody else, including Tom Del Vaccaro. I wanted Rosenstein to stay and Mueller.
Well, obviously, so did Trump, Denise.
All right, you get the better thing. You ready?
Yes.
Yeah, lay it on us, dude.
Or is Neuen done with his filibuster yet?
I don't ever filibuster.
Oh,
I did not even bring up the crack whores there on Fulton Industrial Boulevard. See? Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah.
All along, Donald Trump pushed the Democrats into the arms of Mueller.
Yes.
And he knew all along there was no evidence. So he made the Democrats embrace Mueller, and now they can't walk away from him.
The guy's brilliant. I mean, we can get pissed off with him because of his tweets and the fact that he's a bull in the china shop and all these other things that, we might necessarily not do. But the guy is brilliant, and he always appears to be about 5 steps ahead of everybody else.
Well, we'll have to see. At the end of the day, Robert Mueller did a terrible job, because by doing his James Comey, he may have done. There's evidence that could be interpreted as obstruction, and evidence that couldn't, and I won't make the decision. He gives the Democrats free rein to continue to investigate And they are going to continue to investigate until their congressional candidates say this is hurting us in the polls. You need to stop.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Denise, we've got about 4 minutes till we have to go to that bottom of the hour break for a couple of minutes. Tom, you're going to hang with us through the second half of the show. Am I correct?
Only if you double my salary for the rest of the show.
Denise, go ahead and cut the check to him.
Sure.
All right. So you got about 4 minutes. Where do you want to take us, Nisi?
Well, Tom, what does the federal mail charge? Do you know what kind of sentencing that carries?
I don't.
If Langley comes through and does something about that one as a federal charge?
I think the more interesting thing from my perspective is, do they get to bring in evidence from everything else that occurred so that they can fully investigate this process to see, in other words, that his indictment was sealed. So now I wonder if the feds get to reopen it.
Well, I was going to ask you that, and there were 19 charges. I guess that was the number. I'm thinking that there were probably some other charges that they didn't necessarily apply. This is not a one-off. They can necessarily go charge him with some other things, could they not?
Well, they can only charge him with federal things. Since he's made his deal, they can't revive them. So when the federal government and state government makes a mistake, they don't get to go, oh, too bad, we get to revive the charges. At least that's my understanding. So he is going to walk on the serious state charges. We'll have to see whether he gets. But the real question is, what the state can do an investigation as to how this guy got off. Now, I'm sure Rahm Emanuel.
And they're calling for it. They're calling for it.
I know, but is Rahm Emanuel on the phone with Barack Obama? And Barack Obama telling him, don't look into
No, but I wouldn't want to be at that dinner table tonight in the Rahm Emanuel house because this Tina Chin person and this Kim Fox lady were friends with Rahm Emanuel's wife. Rahm Emanuel stood with the police department. So it's probably not a fun dinner discussion at the Rahm Emanuel house tonight, you think?
No, this is a serious miscarriage of justice, and if there was any honesty among those thieves, something would have to be done. I mean, it's just literally absurd. And the police union has asked for an investigation into this, so they're not giving up so early or easy.
Imagine if they all decide to go on strike or walk or something,
That was my question. Is the Chicago Police Department gonna retaliate with this?
Very well could.
All right, we got a minute before we have to go to break. Let me ask you this, Tom, because his case was sealed, do the feds have the power to open that and to unseal it?
I would think so, because they're going to look into all this. They have to look into this mail thing, issue of use of U.S. mail, and so they would have to know the full parameters of it. But I'm not an expert in this. I'll say that right out. But I think the U.S. attorney, I think it's hysterical that Rahm Emanuel is going to be asking William Barr's office to do the right thing.
Yeah, I thought it was a mind blow that Rahm Emanuel stood against this. All right,
he didn't have any choice. He wouldn't have a police department.
I got you. All right, we got to go to break, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Denise Simon, the Tom Del Beccaro, and me right here on the Drive Time SITREP. We're going to be back after 2 minutes.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
the Drive Time SITREP, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Don Neuen. I am a co-host of Cowboy Logic Radio. You can check that show out every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, on whatever radio station or internet station or network that you're listening to this show. In addition to myself, we've got two faboo people on here with us. We've got Denise Simon. She is the host of the Denise Simon Experience. You can catch her show on Thursday nights, 9 p.m. on whatever station you're listening to this show on. But the special person in the room tonight is Tom Del Beccaro. Tom Del Beccaro is no other way to put it than a great friend of Denise Simon, Donna Fiducia, and myself. He is like a brother. He lives out in California, and he's keeping the libs in line out there. Thank God that you're about the only one out there doing it, Tom. So at any rate, before we went to break, ladies and gentlemen, we were talking about Jussie Smollett and the fact that all these charges were dismissed against him in the shadows of the Mueller report being handed down. That was a fascinating weekend that we all went through. So where do you guys want to pick up? We've got a whole segment here, guys. Okay, well,
I was going to do this actually last week, so I want to mention this. About a week and a half ago, I did a ride along with a lieutenant of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. He generally doesn't do patrol, but he likes to do patrol. And so I rode around with him in his unmarked car from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And it's a very curious 12 hours. We covered an awful lot of material because, you know me, I went there with questions in my little notebook. But this cat, great guy. And it was fun to see the perspective of what goes on from inside a car in law enforcement. And the breaks that they give these people when they make stops. Some people are okay, we're going to let you go on this. You're an idiot. I can't believe that you did this. Call your parents. Come get the car. You're coming with us kind of thing. We made one stop and we pulled into a parking lot right outside of a Staples or Office Depot. And I looked at this girl and I said, I don't know much, but she's on meth. And he said, yep, she is. And then, of course, there's a little girl involved, and it was her daughter, 5 years old, in another car. And the grandmother's got to come from Ocala to pick up the little girl because this woman's going to jail. I mean, it's just a very, and I live, and he kept saying, I'm sorry you're not seeing much tonight, but the north part of the county where I live is a very safe, very normal kind of place. And it seems like the incidents that we do have come from other counties into my county. But I asked him this one question, and I'm seeing signs of it now all over the place, and that is, what is the biggest problem that law enforcement, either in the state of Florida or across the country, has? And he said, the juvenile justice system. He didn't miss a beat. He said it is broken all over the place. And we don't know, we don't know what to do with them. I mean, the laws aren't addressing what they need to address. The education system for them when they got to be yanked out of school. I mean, just one thing right after another. So I would suggest to the listeners out there, if your county, if your sheriff's department and or police department offers a ride-along program, you must go do it. If for nothing else, you learn a whole lot more about where it is that you live yourself.
Basically what you're saying is our biggest problem is the breakdown of the family. Because you're telling me that these kids are out there in a horrible situation, and how did they get there? Because the juvenile system may be broken, but it's dealing with the effects of something.
No question about it. Absolutely. It's absolutely right. So I asked him, I said, well, what is it, the one thing that the juveniles are doing that's just, making your lives crazy? And he said, unlocked cars. They come from the rough areas of town to the wealthier areas of town, and they will go hit shopping centers, condominium complexes, apartments, and neighborhoods, and they will just kind of unteam. They come in team, they unteam, and they just go down the rows and they check all the cars for what's unlocked. They don't necessarily want to steal the car. They don't really have to. They want to steal what's in it.
That's right. Denise, I can't believe that you're saying all this. I asked the very same question about a year and a half to 2 years ago of a number of Atlanta Police Department officers, beat guys. And they said exactly the same thing. Although in Atlanta, one of the biggest things that they're fighting with regard to juvies is the fact that there is a point system in the Atlanta criminal code in which they are, if let's say they do a breaking and entering, and that's 3 points. Well, nothing happens to them until they hit 8 points. So these juveniles
they know the system.
Crimes. They know how many points they've racked up. It's like your driver's license.
They know the system so well.
And there's nothing that the cops can do. They arrest them. They got to let them go because they haven't maxed out on their allotted gimmies and what is it in golf? Mulligans. It's awful.
The average in the state of Florida, I don't know what it is for other states, but the average in the state of Florida is 4 out of 10 cars are unlocked. 4 out of 10. Now, what could be in there?
Well, what do you do? Do you lock your car?
Mine are in the garage.
Okay. What about you, Delba Carl?
Yeah, my cars are always locked, and I tend to stay in less dangerous areas.
True. And that's always advisable. But I can tell you this. We have had automobiles broken into right out in front of our property at Star Coaches. Now, it's seriously diminished in the past year, maybe. But there was a time that we had, we've got a restaurant on our property that we own. And patrons come into the restaurant, and while they're eating, their cars get either stolen or broken into and pilfered. In the middle of the day, noon, it happens. They're absolutely brazen, and a lot of the reason, I think, is because there are no consequences to it. And I agree with you, Tom. It's a failure, and it all starts in the home.
And yet, when it comes to policy at the state level or at the federal level, I can't think of any policies on the top of my head that promote a solid family unit, especially when we know that there's a constant attack on Christians, on schools, on churches. I don't know what the real answer is. I mean, it has haunted me, since I had that ride with the lieutenant. We're in a pathetic condition here. And even the generation that's just barely older than these juvies, they're the ones that, Nancy Pelosi wants them to vote at 16. But how can they possibly vote when they're the ones that, are just about to step foot into college? And what do they want? They want pet-a-pony parties and safe spaces. I mean, we're in trouble. We're just in trouble. Any thoughts, fellas?
Couldn't agree with you more.
Daniel Patrick Moynihan talked long ago about how federal policies are breaking down the family. And the Democrats don't really care. They clearly care about issues related to how they get elected. They don't care about voter integrity at the highest levels. They abuse that. It's pure pandering. Beto O'Rourke, who continues to amaze me in how flaky he is and how anyone could think he should be president. But Beto O'Rourke's excuse for his bad activity was he was a teenager, and the Democrats want to give them the right to vote.
I asked this lieutenant, have you ever done school resource officer duty in his career? And without missing a beat, his answer was for 45 seconds. The school resource officer had to leave to take a juvenile off campus to detention or whatever, but he had to call in a sub. So my lieutenant wasn't a lieutenant at the time, but they called him in and he said, yeah, I'll come over. And he walked into the building and he saw that it was chaos, looked around for a second and went, oh no, I'm completely outnumbered here. So he didn't leave. He just stayed in the building 45 seconds and just told the officials, I'll be right outside the door, but I'll be right here on campus until the real school resource officer came back. So that tells you that there's chaos in the school systems, even with school resource officers. And then consider what goes on in the classroom. How can you teach anything?
Well, exactly. I mean, Tom, I'm about 7 years older than you are. But I remember when I was in elementary and middle school and high school, if I would have, and I wasn't a model student by any stretch of the imagination, but if I would have misbehaved like a lot of the stuff that we're seeing right now take place in the classrooms, my mom would have smacked the lips completely off of my face. And I came from a broken family. You know, my parents got divorced when I was 12 or 13 years old. The thing is, you feared back when we were kids the repercussions of acting like an ass. And now, those kids don't fear that. I mean, even in the classroom, my arms extended until my shoulders felt like they were on fire. But you don't have that anymore. And you sure as hell don't have it at the home. Do you guys agree?
Well, when the parents are acting in a lot of cases worse than the kids. Whatever parent that is. If it is a parent.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
exactly.
Thomas Sowell has chronicled the destruction of the black families. The welfare system encourages single-parent families. That's on, I guess, single-parent situations. It is true that generation after generation, the richer society becomes, the values disappear over time. That is what we're facing. The very idea, I mean, just juxtapose the generation that landed at Normandy versus the generation today that needs a safe space.
Yeah.
None of that, you know, we have come a long way in 100 years or less. It's getting worse, and the Democrats pander to it. There is, you know, personal responsibility is a thing of the past in many respects. Victimology.
Well, we just saw that with Jesse Smollett today too, didn't we?
Yeah.
You know, Danny came in my office. He came in my office this morning around noon, I guess, and he said, "Hey man, did you hear that this Jesse Smollett guy, Smollett, was all the charges were dropped?" I thought he was kidding.
Yeah.
I thought he was kidding. And I pop open Drudge, and it's got 15 different headlines about it.
What does this tell you? And in fact, Rahm Emanuel spoke of that at length. What message does this send
Yes.
to others who have real complaints and it won't be taken seriously?
Tom, I think this is really your next book.
Oh, no, I already wrote my next book, and I'm on to my next one after that.
Well, there you go.
Well, what's the next one called, Tom?
The Lessons of the American Civilization.
Very cool, man. When's it coming out?
As soon as you let me off this phone call.
Whoa! How about the timing of that? Ladies and gentlemen, cutting edge, I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
And also completely untrue.
Oh, lawyer speak. Hey, speaking of lawyer speak, Tom, as a fellow attorney, a fellow counselor at law, tell me what you think here about
Avenatti and Mark Garagos.
Avenatti and Garagos.
Yeah, well, Avenatti is a lowlife on a good day. Now, forget these charges. The very idea that first of all, I can't believe the millions he's involved with.
Millions.
That he defrauded clients out of millions by not giving them the money they were entitled to. I mean, this is just the worst of attorneys. Look, attorneys don't exact, as I say in my speeches, 99% of them ruin it for the rest of us. He is certainly a 99%er. And the manner in which, it just gives a bad name to attorneys. Now, look, there's bad contractors, there's bad stockbrokers. Mostly there are good people, but, he's off the charts. I'm interested in the Garagos thing because he's had a successful career. He hasn't been indicted. I don't know where this goes for him. But
I'm of the notion that it was Garagos that concocted the thing with Nike to Avenatti, because Mark Garagos was the lawyer of record for Colin Kaepernick. And Colin Kaepernick was able to sign the big deal with Nike. So I believe that that's where this whole attempt of extorting Nike came from.
Has Garagos been charged with anything?
No, but he is in fact the co-conspirator.
Or I don't even understand how, if he co-conspirator, what they're waiting for, unless of course they've given him an immunity deal.
Maybe we have another Jesse Smollett in the making. But here's the fascinating thing. Avenatti, pays his bond. And he immediately goes outside the building to a microphone and says, when all the evidence, blah, 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 blah. Look, the lawyers for Nike picked up the phone and called the Southern District of New York and said, hey, let me tell you about this cat. And so every subsequent phone call that Avenatti had with the Nike lawyers and meetings, there was an FBI undercover guy either on the phone listening and recording or in the meeting pretending to be a Nike lawyer. So they got him dead to rights.
Interesting. So they were targeting him.
Yeah, and they did both cases at the same time, the LA case and the New York case. They did them at the same time, which is why right. I can't believe that he got out for $300,000 bond.
Did they take his passport?
I hope so.
I would hope so.
I didn't see anything making reference to that. But he's been evicted from 2 buildings. His former law partner is waiting on a settlement, judge-ordered settlement from Avenatti, which he's probably never going to get. There are 2 other houses involved. There's a race car company involved, and then he's got an almost ex-wife. So I guess we should say, hey, MSNBC and CNN, you had this cat on over 100 times in the period of 6 weeks.
Yes, because they thought he was going to deliver goods on Trump, and he never did.
Fascinating, isn't it?
But who have been their media stars of late? The answer is Michael Cohen and this guy.
Yeah, and John Dean.
John Brennan. John Brennan.
Well, John Dean.
Well, I don't know. John Dean's been out there a lot.
Oh, he has. That's true. That's true.
Well, yeah, but the point is, they're subject matter experts. Their talking heads are disgraced individuals. Almost all of them. Hey, what do you guys think? What do you think about the Judge Janine situation?
She's back
Any of us,
back this weekend.
I know, but what do you think about the whole thing?
Glenn Beck, he made reference on his radio show yesterday, and I happened to hear just a short snippet of it, that back when he was working at Fox, he said something on the air and called somebody a liar, and I don't remember who it was at the time. I think it was Obama, because of the State of the Union address when Obama said that, illegals will not get any part of Obamacare, and Joe Wilson yelled out, "You lie." I think that the next day that Glenn Beck said something about, well, he is a liar. Anyway, Roger Ailes called Beck in the very next day after he made that remark on the air during the Glenn Beck show and said, "Don't do that again. Ever. It may be true, but don't do that again." And so I think that culture is still going on at Fox. They just don't want to have any burrs in their saddle that they don't need to have. While Jeanine Pirro was absolutely right, maybe it was her choice of words that she could have improved upon, getting across the same message, but saying it a little softer, perhaps. I guess what hurts a lot of because Fox News obviously is the only close thing that we have to conservative television. We certainly have it in radio, but we don't have it so much in television. And on the heels of then they bringing in Donna Brazile as a contributor.
Did you hear Donna Brazile talking yesterday about?
I did.
Talking about what, Tom? Talking about what, Tom?
Campaign problems, or what was it exactly?
It had to do with the Mueller report and the fact that the campaign people that were working in the Trump orbit prior to his being sworn in were obviously having some questionable contacts. And her position was, we ought to be happy that that Trump himself isn't implicated in this, but his people were, and we can't have that in campaigns. And yet it was kind of like, hey, we're all out here sitting here, Donna, but you guys cheat, and you're the ones that hired Perkins Coie.
She's another disgraced individual. I mean, how these disgraced individuals are given the time of day is beyond me.
And I want to mention this because if I can do it on the air, I need to do so, that Perkins Coie was the law firm of record. The big question is that law firm a registered lobbyist? Because I don't know the answer to that question. But their lawyer, who was the point person for hiring Glenn Simpson and Fusion GPS, is none other than Mark Elias. Mark Elias was also the lawyer of record for the DNC, the Democratic National Committee. Guess who Mark Elias is working for today?
I got the answer.
You do, because I gave it to you.
I know. I feel smarter.
Well, who is it, Tom? She didn't give it to me.
Senator Kamala Harris.
Oh, man.
So that
is that
tells
how you got to pronounce her name? Kamala?
That's how she says it, yes, sir.
Okay, but here's the deal.
I refuse to do that.
This tells you that if Mark Elias, with the connections with the DNC and Perkins Coie and Fusion GPS and all the rest of it, the Podestas and the whole thing, she's the chosen one to be the nominee.
Yep. Oh, come now. Stop.
I'm telling you.
She's not going to beat Bernie Sanders. It's not going to happen.
They'll pull the same stunt on Bernie the second time.
And how are they going to do that if he's winning the primaries?
Well,
same way they did it last time. They're going to cheat.
No, they needed super delegates to do that the last time. This time he's going to win the first two primaries and be off to the races. And folks, you can go to politicalvanguard.com to see my the op-ed and the video where I talk about why Bernie's going to win.
All right, so you're prognosticating that it's going to be a Sanders versus Trump battle.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, who's Sanders going to pick as his running mate?
Kamala Harris. Why is that funny?
It might be Ilhan Omar. He might need that kind of money.
No.
God. All right, well, we got about a minute and a half. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to encourage all of you to go check out some really great work that the two people that are on the other end of this conversation are doing. First of all, Denise Simon, ladies first. Please visit her website, founderscode.com. And again, check out her great show. It's all interview based. It's 2 hours. It's very fast paced, subject matter based. Thursday nights, the Denise Simon Experience, 9 p.m. Eastern. Tom Del Vaccaro, again, what a treat it's been to have you on this show. I had no idea that she was going to do this, and I think it's just been a blast.
I got a demanding text message from him.
Oh, all right. Well, hey, he's a power player.
He's a texter.
But ladies and gentlemen, go check out politicalvanguard.com. Politicalvanguard.com. It is a stellar website. And the beautiful thing about both of these people and the work that they do, it is all vetted for you. So you don't have to worry about sharing it or regurgitating it to your friends and family, because you're going to be able to do that with integrity. Tom Del Vaccaro and Denise Simon have already done all the work for you. So you can use their work with 100% integrity. The other thing that I'd love for you to do is go buy Tom's books. And I'm running out of time here, but for Christmas, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, Donna and I have had his book, The Divided Era, for quite some time now. But we bought about 5 or 6 copies of this book and sent them to our friends and family for Christmas gifts. It's a great way that you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You can help out Tom, and you can give great gifts to your family. Go pick up his work. Go pick up his book. Denise, we're out of time. You got to take us home.
Thanks for being with us, and God bless America.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.